Welcome to the first episode of the Real Estate Roundtable. My name is Nick Jaafar. I'm a real estate agent with Keller Williams Legacy. I've been in real estate for over 7 years. We now have a team. We have myself as well as 3 other licensed real estate agents, 2 assistants, and a director of business operations. This episode, the first episode of the Real Estate Roundtable, we will be featuring none other than my brother, my right-hand man. Zack has been with us for almost 2 years, if not 2 years. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce Zack. Zack, thank you for joining us.
Complete pleasure. Thank you, Nick, for having me on your first episode of the Realtor Roundtable. Complete honor.
My first question is, how long have you been with the team?
2 years. We're going into our 3rd year, and so 2 years.
So I'll start off by saying how incredibly proud we are of you. In all seriousness, you're doing a tremendous job. And we're proud of you beyond words.
Awesome. Thank you.
How did we meet? Remind me.
So we met, it was 7th grade. You were my football coach, and I hated sports. I hated running. I don't know why I joined football. And I lasted about a week. Okay. Fast forward to 10th grade, you gave me my first job. And what happened was you told me, go across the street to Target, get a long sleeve black shirt and a tie, come back at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Not knowing then there on the spot, you hired me.
We were busy, and I mean, you filled the application out, and it was a quick interview process, and you passed. So you started that day or the next day?
The same day at 6 p.m.
Okay.
I think it was like 3 o'clock when I met you, so I only had 3 hours. So fast forward a couple years later, I asked you about real estate. How's real estate? And you said it was great, it was awesome, and you really think like I should give it a shot. So I did. I remember taking my test many times, and so I called you one day and I was like, Nick, I just can't pass. I cannot pass. And you told me to write it down 100 times. I will pass, I will pass, I will pass, I will pass. So that's what I did. I wrote it down. I went and took my test. And I ended up passing. So I remember calling you with joy and telling you, Nick, I passed. He was like, yeah, you told me, yeah, I know. You knew I was going to pass that time. So I ended up passing, joined the team, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. It goes to show you, I was not surprised. If you write something down, you put it into the world. And when you put pen to paper, it gives a path to where you want to do. So when you called me, and you took your test over 10 times.
Over 10 times.
We looked it up. That might be a state record. I mean, this might be a state record. But, I mean, you've surpassed anything anyone could have imagined in their first 2 years of real estate. But I use it as an example. People call me and tell me, I didn't pass, I can't pass. I said, look at Zack. He took it. He took it so many times. The state lost track. We've never seen it like in history. But it goes to show you, if you put your mind to it, you come to work early, like you do, you're dressed to impress, you're positive, you're open to learning from others, sky's the limit.
And that's for sure. The sky is the limit. There's no deal too big and no deal too small. That's something that you taught me very early on to my career. And yeah, so I appreciate it.
Zack, I want to ask you, how was your first deal? Do you remember your first deal?
Of course I remember my first deal. Everyone remembers their first deal. So first deal was a Farmington Hills home, 3,500 square feet, listed for $490,000. And we're walking through this home, and me and my clients went to the basement, and we opened this room. We stepped in a puddle of water, and we're like, what is going on? So we thought the basement flooded. So another important topic was the seller is also the real estate agent.
Okay.
So, and I went to the seller, and she was home at the time. I went to the seller. I was like, hey, did you know your basement's flooded? And she almost broke down in tears. She didn't know what was wrong, and and it was listed at $490. So I told her, hey, look, my clients are still interested, but what do you think about $460? And this was in the time where the market was on fire. So negotiating was not an option. So she agreed for the $460. We got her inspection. So she ended up agreeing, and we got the inspection, and turns out it was flooded from a refrigerator line, which costed $100 to fix.
Wow.
Seller ended up fixing it themselves as well. So fast forward, This deal was a roller coaster. I feel like every agent, the first deal, it's never straightforward. And who was the lender on this file was Moby. Moby was the lender, and things weren't looking the best on the loan side. And keep in mind, the seller is also the realtor, so she wants her home sold. And what ends up happening was we were supposed to close, and I was new to the business. I think I was just winking everything. I was just...
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
I think one things that happened was we're Keller Williams Legacy.
Yeah.
And the title company was like Legacy Title or something. So it's your first deal.
Yeah.
You're under the impression you're talking to our office the whole time.
Yeah.
And they're in communication, when in reality, the title company that the other agent was using was Legacy Title or something of that sort. So it was a mix-up in communication.
It was.
So we're ready to close on a Tuesday, and I'm out of town.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually on the beach. And you guys called me and said, hey, we got a problem. The title company don't know we're closing.
Yeah.
Turns out you got Keller Williams Legacy and Legacy Title mixed up.
Yeah. So I got that mixed up, and Mo, the lender, he knew I got it mixed up, but, he wanted to get a laugh out of it. And
At the last second.
At the last second.
Right.
At the last second. So what we did was we were heading over to Legacy Title and demanding to close that same day. So what he made me do was call the seller and tell him, like, hey, we're closing. And she goes, we're going to clip that. We'll put that video, see if we can do it. But it's a pretty funny video. And
Almost went viral.
It almost went viral.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is we get there, we told them we're not leaving until we close.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. We got there at 11, and they opened an extra hour later for us to close at 6 o'clock, and we ended up closing the deal. But it was my first deal, and I'll never forget that deal.
What's one thing you learned from that deal?
Ask questions, definitely ask questions. And something I learned is to be proactive and just double check everything. Make sure, it's the right title company, and definitely ask questions.
How many deals have you closed since that deal?
Year to date?
No, since that deal.
From that deal till now? Over 50.
50? Have you ever gotten a title company mixed up with their office? That's good. So you learned.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, so Nick, I told you about my first deal. What was your first deal like?
My first deal, I'll never forget it. So I wasn't on a team. So what I did when I first started was I would tell my brother, hey, my office is not too far from your school. I want to get into the habit of waking up early. Every day you wake up, don't let anyone take you to school but me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd wake up, I'd get to the office around 7 o'clock, and I would just learn.
Mm-hmm.
I'd make phone calls, I'd go on YouTube, I'd read, I'd listen to cassette tapes, DVDs, anything I could to provide value, to learn, to improve. 1 month went by, nothing. 2, 3, 4, 5 months went by. In my 6th month, I get a call.
Mm-hmm.
Guy said, I got a friend. He wants to buy a house. He's ready. He's willing. He's able. He's got the cash in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
As a first-year real estate agent, you hear cash. Cash is king.
Mm-hmm.
Said, we're ready. Showed the house. It was an $8,000 house.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget it because when he walked in, there was a bathtub. I don't know. They just put it on the floor right when you walked in the house. So you walk in, bathtub. It's not like installed or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they were going to take it to the bathroom, but bathtub on the floor. And we bought it.
Mm-hmm.
It was $1,000 commission, so I made $1,000 in my first 6 months. Yours is much different. You had a great experience. Buy a $100,000 house versus an $8,000 house. Well, like you said, no deal too big, no deal too small.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, sold, closed. I end up getting a call from the guy who bought the house. Called me, said, Nick, 1 year later, said, Nick, my wife gave me an ultimatum. I got 30 days. I got to sell the house. I said, say less. I walk in the front door. Guess what's still there?
The bathtub.
The bathtub's still there. So I ended up selling the house twice, which is exciting. So $16,000 in total volume. So
that's amazing. Exciting. That's amazing.
So you told me about your first deal.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your favorite deal.
So my favorite deal has to be I had a rental listed on Norborn, and I met this client. She was a nurse, and we were going back and forth. We were discussing everything, her financials and stuff like that, what she does for a living. And I was just asking a bunch of questions, and in her position, I said, and we listed this property for $2,200 a month.
Wow.
So it was pretty expensive. And I was telling her, like, hey, like, have you ever, she was a first time home buyer. I was like, hey, have you ever like bought a house before? She said, no, I don't even want to deal with it. And a lot of times, like, first time home buyers, they don't know how easy the transaction really is.
Right.
So she was a first time home buyer, and I called Moby from Clover and got him on the phone with this client. He ended up getting her approved. And so fast forward a couple months later, I ended up finding her a beautiful home in Southgate, pool in the backyard, colonial, high ceilings, you name it. And she was just so excited for this house. And we ended up getting it done. We got her the house. And to this day, she still thanks me and telling me I changed her life. And it's just a great experience that knowing that you were someone's, you had a huge impact on someone's life that went from renting to home ownership.
You changed your life.
And it really is crazy. And that has to be one of my favorite deals because the story behind it.
Yeah.
Nick, tell me, what was your favorite deal?
My favorite deal, by far, I was at the bank. I was at Chase Bank on Monroe and Beach, and I was catching up with someone, and they asked me something about real estate, how's the market, and I answered them. We caught up, and they left, and some guy walked up to me and said, you in real estate? I said, yeah, I am. Are you looking to buy or sell? He said, I'm renting. I want to buy. He said, consider it done. Here's my card. Send me your information. We'll go from there. We ended up getting him pre-approved that day. The next day, we went to see two houses only. The first house, he walked through. We just shook his head and he laughed. Said, okay, all right, decisive. I like that. Second house, I'll never forget it. It was on Beach Daily in Redford. We get to the house. He didn't even go inside. He looked in the window.
That's the one.
This is it. I said, you got it. We walked in the house. I think it was a little over $100,000. We negotiated, got some concessions. We had some hiccups. We had some hiccups before closing. I told the lender, look, this guy is buying this house. Under no circumstance is this deal not going through. You let us know what we have to do. It made a few things happen. I'm in touch with him till this day. Phenomenal guy. We talk about football, basketball, not really ever real estate, but an amazing guy. Became a very good friend.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite deal ever.
That's amazing.
Zach, you showed a lot of nice homes in your career. What is your favorite home out of the nice homes that you've showed?
My favorite home was actually on Deer Trail.
Okay.
It's a property in Canton. And I remember we ended up closing on that deal as well. So it was on Deer Trail in Canton, and we walked in, and they had like a spiral staircase, open floor plan, high ceilings in the living room and the family room, and just like the kitchen was like, it was grand. It had a butler's bar, and the layout was amazing. It had 2 staircases, finished basement. It was over 3,500 square feet. And what really stood out for me was the backyard. The backyard was an open field, and they had a nice fireplace area, a nice hot tub area, swing sets, and you name it, it was in that backyard. What was your favorite house that you ever showed?
So my favorite house I ever showed, I was sitting, it was in Ramadan, we were fasting. My client texted me at home and said, hey, I don't want to move. Let's just go check this out. So we went, said no problem, did some research on the home, talked to the agent, said we already have multiple offers, very desirable home in the Bellagio Estates, was listed for over $3 million. So sometimes when you see a home like that, for example, our conversation in the car before we walked in said, hey, I think 1, 2, 3, 4 need updates. I said, I agree. I think need updates here as well. We walked in, and I'll never forget, he looked up, and it was like a spiral staircase and high vaulted ceilings with crown molding everywhere. And I said, oh, he's going to buy this house. I didn't say anything. So we kept walking, and the house got more beautiful from every section of the home. Custom built, costed probably 3 times the amount they were selling it for. It cost about 3 times that much to build. So at the end of the showing, he said, Nick, I really want this house. Please do what you can. We ended up getting it, even though there was multiple offers. We got it under asking and ended up getting that house and selling his house.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it was a
amazing.
beautiful home. Beautiful home.
Talk to us about because I remember this deal, and his home was actually really nice as well. It was wasn't it on? I might be wrong, but was it a lakefront?
It was on the lake. Yeah. So the home he bought was actually record breaking for Bellagio, which, as everyone knows, the Northville Novi border. The Bellagio Estates is the most prestigious, for the most part, neighborhood. At that time, that was a record breaking sale. It's since been beat. And then when we put his house for sale, we actually broke the record on the lake. That record has been beat as well. But for the time being, we only showed it 15 times. 15 people seen the property. We kept it live for 2 days. We had 9 offers.
That is amazing.
Yeah. We actually had one offer, I think $200,000 over asking.
Wow.
Yeah. And we ended up taking one a little less. But yeah, that was a great home.
That's incredible.
So Zach, you told me about your first deal, your favorite deal. Not everything is sunshine and rainbows. Tell us about your most difficult deal.
Difficult deals. All right. So my most difficult deal was I had this client where first time home buyer, and for all our first time home buyers, we'd like to prep them on what to prepare for. So I asked her, don't do 3 things until we close on the property. First thing was, don't get a car. Don't deposit a big chunk of cash. And third thing was, don't use your credit cards. And with our luck, she did all 3.
Okay.
First situation that we had to deal with was she went to get a car. They pulled her credit 33 times.
Oh, wow.
33 times.
Wow.
So what we had to do was we went from conventional loan to a FHA loan.
Yeah.
So that's the first problem solved. Second problem was, I believe a week before closing, she deposited $30,000 into the bank.
Okay.
And that was a flag for underwriting. They flagged it. They wanted to see proof of fund, where did that money come from, and we ended up getting a bill of sale because she sold. I forgot what she sold. I think it was an RV or something like that. But we got a bill of sale stating that where the money came from. So that was cleared. And the third thing was the credit cards. So what she do was she bought furniture. She bought appliances. She bought a bunch of stuff on the credit card, and her DTI went down. And I'm not really sure how we got off that one. I think when it was FHA, she could have borrowed more, but it was very difficult because it delayed closing for 2 to 3 weeks.
Right.
And we're in a situation where it was multiple offers and they had backup offers. So it was really just like communicating with the agent, telling her everything is fine. And fast forward 2 weeks later, we were supposed to close. And I called my client, asking her like, hey, are you ready to close and stuff like that? And she told me she's in labor. She was in labor. So I'm on FaceTime with her, and she was on the bed giving birth, and I was like, I called the agent. I can't make this up, but she's in labor, so we can't close. So, the listing agent was actually really cool. She was actually a broker. She was a broker. She was
nice.
Very understanding, and we ended up closing the deal. It took us a while, but as long as you can keep the deal together and not have it fall apart. Now, if I was not communicating with the agent or not following up, this deal would never have closed. And that was my hardest deal, but not every single deal is going to be a straight shot, and you just have to really.
But I'll not take a word for you, but at the end of the day, it's all about, you didn't look at it as a problem, you looked at it as a challenge, and you were solutions oriented. So right when you're telling the story, you knew that there were solutions to these problems, and you worked on them, and it's always good to have a good team around you. Mm-hmm. And especially the lender. The lender must have gotten creative.
Yeah.
And, talk to the underwriter, see what's going to work. And that's why it's very important to have a good team, whether it's a title company, your administration, your lender, we all work hand in hand. So it's very important.
It is.
That's a great example of a difficult deal.
Thank you. What was your most difficult deal?
Okay, so we've had a few difficult deals for sure. We'll go to our most difficult closing. Our most difficult closing, we had a property for sale in Dearborn, medical property. There was 4 sellers on the deed. It was a 6 o'clock closing. The deal took about 4 or 5 months to close, so it was a nail biter. It was a lot of moving parts. We get to the closing. One of the sellers comes about an hour late. So the seller came, big relief. So we get to the closing table, and I'm sitting at the end, and the title person is checking off the names. Okay, seller number 1, seller number 2, can I get your ID? Seller number 3, seller number 4. Now, when she said seller number 4, that person said that person sold their shares in 2007. This is over $1 million deal. We've been under contract for 6 months. We've been listed for over a year. We're an hour past when we were supposed to close. I said, what do you mean they sold their share? That's fine. Just send us something, show us an updated operating agreement, something that shows the shares were sold, that everyone acknowledges it. He said, we don't have it. So very calmly, I texted Lola, who was the title person closing the deal. I said, Lola, nobody's leaving until we close. She said, how do you expect me to do that? I said, I don't know, but I have faith you'll get it done. We got creative. The person who sold their shares ended up being in Florida. We had to call this person. They didn't get back to us right away. We had to do an adjusted operating agreement, send it over to them. We faxed it to them, I believe. I think they overnighted it back, and we ended up closing the deal. But what my story and your story have in common, you got to be results oriented. You can look at all of the problems. We call them challenges because Dave Abdallah taught me challenges are exciting, problems are scary. So we look at everything as a challenge, no problems. And we got over those challenges. We took care of what needs to be taken care of, and we closed the deal. Because at the end of the day, who do we work for?
We work for the client.
You work for the client and the deal. The client and the deal. But once your client knows you have their best interest, we work for the deal. For sure.
So you've been doing real estate for over 7 years now. How would you describe Dearborn versus any other market?
That's a very good question. So for one, Dearborn in itself, in my opinion, has its own economy. Everybody works with each other. We support each other. So whether you're going to the gas station, you're going to the meat market, the grocery store, you're going to the restaurant, wherever it is, a lot of businesses are in the city. It's very business-centric, and it's really its own economy. Everyone supports each other, and the economy circulates in Dearborn. Regarding the real estate market, I should say, it's different because people will pay extra to live in Dearborn. They will pay any price to live in Dearborn. And a lot of agents who are not from the area, if they list it, sometimes misprice it. They don't price it accordingly. They don't market accordingly. If you market and price correctly in Dearborn, I think it's the best real estate market in the area, bar none. Especially some areas where they're building new constructions and the neighborhoods around it, it's unmatched. It's really its own economy, and for a real estate market, it's crazy. It's a crazy market.
It really is.
Yeah. So Zach, we talked about our favorite deals, our scariest deals, our most exciting deals. You're a funny guy. Tell me about the funniest deal.
The funniest deal was I was driving one day and Nick calls me, hey. I said, yeah, what's up? He goes, keep in mind, right now it's 3 o'clock, and Nick calls me and tells me you have to be in Ann Arbor at 3:30. I was nowhere near Ann Arbor. I was like about 50 minutes away.
Okay.
And he goes, you have to meet this client at 3:30. She really wants to see the house. She loves it. I said, okay. It was a Realtor.com lead. So I said, okay. So I'm flying to Ann Arbor. It was one of my first deals, so I was very excited. So I get there. I get to Ann Arbor, and I met this client. And I showed her the property. She absolutely loved the property. And she told me, Zach, I love this property. I want this property. And that time, multiple offer situations, she said, what do I have to do to get this done? I said, look, You have to be super fast. You have to be fast. You have to have the pre-approval ready. You have to basically a 24-hour inspection notice. And I was telling her every single term what's going to take to get this property done. She said, okay, I'm going to be super fast. I said, okay, sounds good. What does she do? She calls her realtor in front of me. She calls her realtor and she goes, we got to be super fast. We got to submit the offer right now. This is that. She was giving them my terms and everything I said. I was.
You didn't know she was talking to. I remember.
I was in disbelief. I said,
didn't you ask her who you talking to?
Yes. So I asked her. I was like, who were you just talking to? Because for a slight chance, I thought it was going to be her lender. She said, I was talking to my realtor. I said, you're a realtor? I said, there's no way this is happening right now. I drove all the way here for someone to have a realtor. And what ended up happening was I called Nick after us and I told him the story. And
that's where we've done a video about this before. It's called procuring cause.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what, if her agent wrote the offer, if her agent called the other agent and said, hey, my client said 1, 2, 3, 4, procuring cause says you're entitled to the commission. You have to get the offer. If the offer gets accepted, you are to represent that client. So that wasn't the case. They did write the offer. It didn't get accepted. But that's one of the funniest stories.
It was very funny. It was very funny. I still remember that like it was yesterday.
It goes back to one of those stories where Zack once a month will call me and tell me, you're not going to believe this. And it's never like a normal story. It's always like something like you go to a showing 50 minutes away and they call the realtor right in front of you. That was a funny one.
That was a really funny one. Before I got into real estate, I used to watch documentaries or Selling Sunset, if you guys know what that is. And how is it different than what you see on TV and in the real world?
So same thing here. I used to watch $1 Million Listing, Ryan Serhant. I'm a very big fan of him.
Great guy.
Very big fan of Ryan Serhant. I actually buy many of his courses. And what I realized is what you see on these shows is negotiating back and forth and this and that, and you got to win the deal and you got to win over the other person. And in reality, what all top producers have in common, they're very easy going. They're very easy to get along with. They understand that this deal only works if we all get along. It's only a win if it's a win-win. And you don't really see that on TV shows because that's not exciting. But in reality, what's most important when you close a deal is your relationship with the other agent. If you're the listing agent, your relationship with that lender, your communication, how you guys go back and forth, your past experiences with those individuals. And it goes hand in hand with you don't want to burn bridges. In this business, you don't want to burn bridges. It's all about relationships, whether it's your relationship with your client and doing the right things in their best interest, your relationships with the other agent, being transparent, understanding, again, it has to be a win-win deal. And you don't see that on TV. You don't see that in the movies. You think like it's about winning the deal and this happened, which sure, you want to win, but it has to be a win-win. Real estate is the only sport that both people have to score for there to be a win. It's the only sport. And a lot of people don't think that. They think if they win and the other person doesn't, it's good. It's not good. Maybe it's good this time, but next deal, it's not. Next 5 deals, it's not. So relationship based, that's the real world of real estate. How do you get along with these people? Those are my thoughts.
What is your funniest story real estate related?
So my funniest story real estate related is not about me. It's about you. You remember correctly. We had a listing on Monroe.
Yeah.
And I think the showing was, let's say, at 1 p.m. And I said, Zack, it's 1:15. Where are you? You went to Monroe City. You remember that?
Oh, my God.
You remember?
It was like an hour away?
Yeah, he went to Monroe.
Yeah.
We're 3 minutes away. I'm thinking, why'd this guy leave so early? Maybe he had something else to do. And I said, Zack, just go down to Monroe. And I gave you the address, and you looked on Monroe City, not Monroe Street. You want to tell that story?
Oh, my God. I still remember that day. So you told me about going to Monroe, and I put in my address, and I knew something. I should have called you and said, hey, is this correct? Because I kid you not, it was an hour and 20-minute drive. Hour and 20 minutes. So I finally get to this location, and open field, not one building in sight. I said, did this guy send me to a vacant lot? So I'm over there, and I stood there for 5 minutes looking around. I said, something's not right. Where's the building? So I called Nick. I was like, hey, Nick, where's the building? And Nick tells me, what are you talking about? Like, the building's, you can't miss it. I was like, I'm looking around. I'm saying, Nick, I see nothing in sight, nothing. He goes, where are you? I said in my current location, and it was an hour and 20 minutes away. He told me, where are you? You told me, where are you? This is like the wrong location. And he ends up sending me the address, and I put it in my maps, and it's a whole hour and 30 minutes back. So, man. So
that's my funniest story. I sent you to Monroe Street, which I could throw a football and hit Monroe. You drove an hour and 30 minutes. So that's my funniest story.
That's so about real estate. That's so funny. But yeah, so an hour and 30 minutes there, hour and 30 minutes back.
So Zach, real estate is very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
It's very stressful.
Really is.
What do you do, to maintain this stress? What do you do to stay level?
So you really need to have a routine and a schedule. And you really have to stick with it. So every single day, same thing. You get to the office at the same exact time. Look over your buyer's list. Write your tests down for the day, and just stay on top of everything. Because now, if you're staying on top of all your clients and know exactly what you're doing and being prepped, it's very easy. It'll be much easier for you and then someone else that's not prepped and just running like a chicken with no head, just running around.
So what you're saying is being not proactive but reactive.
Exactly, be reactive, prep for everything, and staying on top of everything where it could be the lender or the other listing agent, and just being reactive, exactly what you just said.
Being would get you in trouble because being proactive is
yeah. So as long as you're proactive and you're staying on top of everything,
got it.
And you have that set schedule, you should be fine. It's all that matters. It's how you prep yourself.
Awesome.
And definitely have a schedule.
I agree 100%.
Mm-hmm. What do you do when you're stressed or
So to avoid stress, what I try to do is it's a mindset. So first things first, you're 100% on point with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be proactive, not reactive. I get to the office sometimes very early, sometimes 6, 7 o'clock, not to prospect, not to do stuff, but to be proactive.
Mm-hmm.
Handle what I can in the morning. So everything that happens after 9 o'clock, when everyone else gets to the office, I can handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another stressful thing about real estate is the deal.
Mm-hmm.
People, the deal goes bad. We had 3 deals die this week.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn, it happens. You learn to not get attached to the deal.
Mm-hmm.
We do everything in our best interest of the client, best interest of the deal. That's it. That's all we can control.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing I've done. Try to stay neutral. It's a book called Getting to Neutral. You should read it. And anyone who watches this should read it. It's written by Russell Wilson's mindset coach, and it's all about staying in neutral. You have $1 million deal, congratulations, stay neutral.
Mm-hmm.
You have a $2 million deal die, congratulations, stay neutral. So being proactive in mindset, understanding that you got to relax. It's all good. It all works out in the end, always.
Mm-hmm.
It's very stressful, but it happens.
Another question for you, Nick. It's so a lot of times you see these agents, they'll get a couple under contract and they'll close a few deals, and then you see them traveling and really they'll close a few deals and get too comfortable, and if you know what I'm trying.
Complacent. They can complacent.
Exactly.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
So it's a very good question. Nick Saban, who's the Alabama coach, said something and it stuck with me. He said, you see a lot of books on becoming successful, but you don't see a lot of books on staying successful.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I do a lot of networking with real estate brokers from across the country, and the ones who are very successful, the ones who do $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion in sales, I ask them, what's the key to staying successful.
Mm-hmm.
Being successful, I can read 1,000 books.
Mm-hmm.
What's the key to staying successful? And the number one thing I hear from them is start every day at 0.
Mm-hmm.
If you have 15 deals pending, pretend like you have 0. Regardless, start every day at 0. You're, like you said, you made a very good point. Morning routine is key.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do in the morning? What is the first, second, and third thing you do? Do it every day and start at 0. And that's actually a very good question, and that's how I would handle it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Zack, your goals in 2023, what were they and what did you accomplish?
So my goals in 2023 was 10 million in sales. Unfortunately, I came just short of 10 million. I hit 8.4 million in sales, and still a great accomplishment because in 2022, I sold a little over 4 million. So
You doubled.
I doubled my goals in 2023.
What do you attest that to?
One more time.
What do you attest that to? What led you to not accomplishing your goal, but accomplishing something worthy?
Mm-hmm.
And what do you? So $8 million, something to be proud of.
Mm-hmm.
How did you do it?
So it's the helps of you. What you told me is write everything down. And in the beginning, I said, what is that gonna do for me? Like if I'm writing it down, but if
Writing down what, by the way? What did you write down?
Write down your goals. You review your goals every day. Really cool that you give us 2023 goals, and it was like your ideal day and what you want to do in life and stuff like that. And you just review those goals. Once you're every single day, you get to the office and you read those goals, and slowly you just start believing in it, and you manifest it, and it really starts happening. But it all starts with you like writing it down. It really does.
I agree, because when you write something down, it's like it puts it into the universe.
Mm-hmm.
You could type it in your notes, you can email it, whatever the case is, but there's something of putting something on paper, it does wonders. It's crazy. And you said you review your goals every day.
Every single day.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Zack, it was an honor to have you on the first episode of the Roundtable. We appreciate you. Appreciate the knowledge, appreciate the inspiration and the funny stories.
Thank you.
Funny stories. Monroe, there's a city and there's a street.
Now I know that.
Amen. Okay. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of the Real Estate Roundtable. We'll add a link to our Instagram, to our Facebook, and our YouTube channel. Thank you all. God bless.